Hello! So I've had a really interesting weekend. As you saw from my previous video, well, I went to Cartlandia on Saturday, but that was already pushing it because for most of the week I'd been taking a lot of painkillers. Because this side of my head was starting to feel really, really weird. Now, I know a lot of you probably don't follow me on Twitter, and maybe one of you are on my Facebook, but I was updating through that because I was lying here in the bed on my phone the entire time. I did not have the wherewithal to get to my computer. Well, I did once, but it was for like 5-10 minutes and it was just long enough to do anything on Farmville, really, is what it was. So, on our drive back home from Cartlandia is when things started taking a turn. From about here all the way up to here, currently, or at the time, just felt like it was seizing. If you've ever had a Charlie horse in like your calf, you know what I mean. But I was able to persevere through it because, well, we were in a weird part of Portland, and I know that if I pulled over to the side to let Aaron drive, we would have gotten even more lost because I was on the border of getting lost. Getting home, because I probably also couldn't think. But eventually we drove to Freddy's to get something. What did we go to Freddy's to get? Oh, we needed to do weekly grocery shopping. And I walked around with him and stuff, and he was noticing something wasn't up, and I was like, well, you're driving because I hope you can get home from here. It's like 6 turns. And he did. But Saturday night, I spent with, let's see, I was already at the maximum dosage of Excedrin, and for the day, because apparently the tooth that I had worked on a couple years ago was acting up again. It's like a one from the back on this side on the lower part. In fact, I can even feel a little bit swollen right now. We'll get to that in just a moment. So Saturday comes around and I am screaming, kill me, kill me, kill me, crying my heart out. I tore my pillowcase, which I thought at the time was a lot worse than it actually was, but basically, from what Aaron tells me, is I just was screaming so hard, I basically I thought I just tore my pillow in half, but really I just tore, well, here, I'll show you. Whereas in actuality, all I did was pull this part out and just completely unraveled it, and I pulled off a couple of the tassels. He and I had been discussing over the past couple months what exactly the pain scale is, because I don't do anything that technically gets me, well, pained. It's either a 1 or whatever. I don't have a mid-ground. I don't experience much pain because I don't do much that experiences pain. Or when I do, I always try to take into account what other people experience it to be. It's like, well, what is your pain right now? 1, maybe a 2. Well, is it bothersome? Well, it's terribly bothersome. I can barely think. Well, that seems like it'd be an 8. No, you know, and so it's a relative pain level and da. But I think when you're tearing your pillow apart and you're screaming, kill me, I just want to die, I didn't deserve, I didn't do anything wrong, why am I deserving this, blah, 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 I think that qualifies as a 10. And you're doing this and you have painkillers in your system. So Aaron calls around looking for dentists, because at this point he can't stand it anymore. He can't stand me looking, just like screaming in the bed. So, after all that goes, yada yada, we eventually just wind up going to the ER. And this pain was like, I was having spikes of it. And the one that I tore my pillow was probably the biggest of the spikes for that night. And we went to the ER and I had probably about a spike up to a 7 while I was in the waiting room. And then we got back into the emergency room, the ER room, and they discussed what was going on. We discussed what was going on, and Aaron tried talking to them because I had another little spike that only went up to probably about a 5. Then while we were waiting for the actual nurse practitioner lady that could actually write prescriptions and whatnot, RN, yeah, I had one that spiked all the way up to an 8. Meanwhile, I'm lying here on this hospital bed and people are running back and forth and I'm just gripping onto the side of it because I'm enduring pain. How this pain was in actuality, I don't know. I just know that it was causing me to scream uncontrollably. Now, this is actually kind of depressing. I get it. But this is why Monday and Tuesday didn't exist as blogs. So they send me home with penicillin because they realize, go down to a little thing I can start, and I can talk and I can think once I'm down. And she looks inside, she goes, I don't see anything wrong. But if you're having pain that much, that's indicative of a tooth infection. Down in the gums, deep in the gums, because she couldn't see anything. And even Erin couldn't see anything on Saturday night. And she couldn't see anything at the ER. So she's like, here's some penicillin and here's some Percocet. And I was like, I've never had Percocet before. Never have. I'd had like maximum strength Advil, Excedrin. I may have had a Vicodin at one point, but that was just to see if I could. Well, I was young and dumb. I was like 21, 22 at the time. It was just like, plunk, here's a Vicodin. What are you feeling? Nothing. That's what you're supposed to feel. I'm like, I don't think so, but okay. Anyways, don't do drugs, kids. So, yeah, it's pretty much Sunday all day. I sat here in the bed on my phone watching YouTube. Mainly watching Daily Grace because it was short and I could keep focused, and then I could, and I could wait for the video, wait for a spike to happen. Meanwhile, I'm taking Percocet at, well, hang on. Yeah, it says take 1 tablet by mouth every 6 hours. Well, I was still getting like horrible, like back-arching, near-screaming pains while on Percocet. And I was taking it every 5 hours. You're only supposed to take it every 6. I was taking it every 5 because I could tell at about 4.5 it was wearing off. And I just, at one point, I think I asked Aaron to take a hammer and just bash my jaw in. So Monday, a couple of the dentists get back to Aaron, and that's when we have our doctor appointment at OHSU. So we go down to OHSU, the South Waterfront, right next to the tram, and we have a wonderful doctor appointment down there. Because I've been on the penicillin so long, should probably take another one of those. Because I've been on the penicillin for so long, the infection was starting to wane a little bit. So my downs were longer and my spikes weren't as much, but I still needed the Percocet. So Aaron had to drive us down there because, well, even though I knew the way, you're not supposed to operate heavy machinery, and according to the Percocet, you're not, from what I can feel from the Percocet, you're not supposed to operate tiny machinery. I'm surprised I can operate this camera. So we went there, and that was at 9, 10 in the morning. We had an amazing doctor visit. Of course it's amazing. It's OHSU. And he looks in my mouth and he's like, yeah, that's pretty much that it's an internal infection. He did prescribe me more of my Trileptal. So that's good. And he did not judge me when he found out previous medical conditions being Asperger's, autism, panic disorder. He didn't judge me. Because I know some doctors have a tendency of like thinking, oh, well, this person doesn't really know what they're talking about, they're disabled. He did not. He took everything I said as it was. And I watched him type things into the computer. So we left there with some more prescriptions, some things that actually will help me in my day-to-day life, an inhaler in case I get wheezy again, and a Trileptal until I get my appointment on March 1st, which is good. And then hopefully that doctor will get or the therapist will get me set up for stuff and can send me to an actual doctor, and we can get all that stuff going. So, meanwhile, I'm still having tooth pain. Monday night, I'm still lying in the bed taking Percocet every 5 hours when it says 6, and I'm still taking the penicillin as per required. So, that's all that. Finally, and I call mom, or I have Aaron call mom. Somebody called my mom, and we're like, set the dentist up, because she said she'd take me back to the place that did this before. Now, I don't know if I've explained this before, but a filling fell out like a year and a half ago. So that's what this is. It fell out, and we went there to go get it filled. And it was almost going to be a root canal, but they didn't need to, so they just sort of put the sealant stuff on it and let me go. However, because I was knocked out, because panic attacks, dentists, and I go to sleep dentistry, it doesn't really, they weren't able to get a good molding for it, because I couldn't clench down all the way on the whatever gum stuff. I don't know, I'm knocked out. What do you expect? So, same thing works this time, but so we go back to the same dentist because it's the same tooth that's causing it, and they do a couple x-rays and they give me some Halcyon, which is kind of a knock me out sort of thing, and I'm still able to talk. Eventually they just, they get the little things inside, the IV and stuff, and I wake up face down at my mom's house in her spare bedroom. It would have been really adorable if my cat was next to me, but he wasn't, because he's a little dick like that. And so that's what happened there. And then Aaron and I, we have prescriptions that I need to go get today and get all that happy jazz done. And it's for Vicodin and amoxicillin, which I'm going to lay off the Percocet for a little while, and hopefully the Vicodin isn't nearly as powerful, but I'm probably just going to finish up the penicillin instead of amoxicillin, because it was a tooth infection on that same tooth. And so they did an entire root canal rather than having to remove the tooth. So I was under for like 3 hours, and they even suggested to Aaron that he videotape this because it's hilarious when people are asleep. Too bad he didn't have it. That would have been YouTube gold. I'd had a hit if he'd have been using the camera to videotape me all knocked out getting dentist work done to me, talking. I swear I woke up at 10, but I tried to sit up and talk at 10 o'clock saying I needed to watch The View. Because that's when my internal chronometer was telling me that. He said about that time I was trying to say something. I'm like, it was probably the fact that I needed to go watch The View. So, that's what's all that. And I'm in the room because, well, I've just spent the last 3 days in this room, and it feels a little bit more safe than being out there. Plus, that way I can actually directly talk to the camera and not be distracted by WoW. Because 3 days I hadn't been on WoW, so I need to kind of catch up a little bit. I need to do a lot of catch up on things. Probably going to vacuum tomorrow, as I didn't do it regularly on Monday. But that'll be that. I'm just letting you all know I'm back. I might be a little bit loopy for the next couple days because of the Vicodin Percocet. And the fact that I have my Triliptal now because I ran out there for a little bit. And we'll get back to doing what we normally do on a daily basis. Hopefully they'll be a little shorter. This one's long because it was a big part. And like I said, you gotta, if you can, really subscribe to my Twitter. It's on my main page. I'll put a link to it down in the description, which is for you right now. Okay, it's my crotch. Down in my crotch here, you click down, it'll be in the description. My Twitter handle's gonna be down there. Yeah, guess what? You're gonna know my last name. It's pronounced Lasowski. Okay? At TJ Lasowski. You don't know how to spell that because it's a Polish name, and people are like, no, I don't know how to understand Polish stuff. It'll be down in the description. Because I updated all weekend, or all week, when I happen to have, because it's easier to write a tweet than it is to, try to make a video and then trim it and edit it and post it online. for like, it's easier to tweet for 30 seconds than it is to make a video and do all this happy jazz for like half an hour when I only have like 7 to 8 minutes in between pain spikes. But if you're ever feeling sick, I must suggest that you just sort of go to Daily Grace on YouTube and you just watch some of her stuff. Just pick a date and watch it straight through. Laughter is the best medicine. I was laughing, internally, because sometimes I couldn't open my mouth. Aaron and I were getting really, because it was really depressing for him because there was nothing he could do for a loved one who was in pain, and I couldn't do anything because I was in pain. But every once in a while we'd watch Grace, and it would just be so hilarious, and I'd laugh and laugh and laugh, and then a couple minutes later I'd be all screamy again, but then it'd calm down. I'd get the oxygen back into my system because I wasn't breathing very well, and then we'd watch some Grace we watched 2 or 3 episodes of Grace, and we'd laugh again, and it was a real emotional roller coaster. But it's all done now. I pretty much have a fake tooth. If you also want to comment, here, I'm going to pose a question to you guys. So I read something on Facebook that a friend posted about a domestic partnership, and I was like, my fake tooth had a question, but I'm a kingdomist, and I don't speak any other language other than Animalia. So I didn't understand what he, she, or it said. And then I asked the thing, if I went to the dentist and asked what the gender of my fake tooth is, how long would it take for me to get to the loony bin? A little bit of a hilarious question, but, when you're pretty much crawling around in your bed like a constipated cat trying to birth 9 kittens at the same time, you tend to think of weird things because you don't want to think about all the bad things that are actually happening. You try to think of something else. And if that's what gender your fake tooth is, you go. And I will catch you all tomorrow, and I'll be back at my desk, and I will probably have a lot more to chit-chat about. Oh, I should probably pick up taco fixins today. I don't know, this tooth's a little weird. Everything's a little bit weird right now. Ooh. Oh, yeah, a little bit swollen. Alright, catch y'alls later.